Andy, so you
Yes.
know why this started? Because I was in a Twitter group and we were all talking about metastatic cancer. People
Okay.
coming at it from the caregiver perspective, from um, being scared like myself. Lee, I don't know, where do you fall in the whole?
I am. I actually cared for my father who died.
Okay, I couldn't remember if it was your father or your brother.
Yeah, and then I'm a nurse. I was, and then was also a hospice nurse. So I'm an RN,
Oh my God.
and my passion is hospice. And I have a friend on the West Coast who is a nurse practitioner, and she's 36 now, and she's 2 years out of her. Um, she was de novo at 34 weeks of pregnancy,
Oof.
so she's 2 years out of her diagnosis.
Oh, I have a
I'm
friend
coming
who,
up on 5, just so you
Wow.
know. And I
yeah.
was diagnosed initially at age 39 and then Mets at 43.
Yeah.
So wait, I want to go back to you for a second. So being a hospice nurse, I'm curious about something. Not curious, but I've been thinking a lot about it. You clearly get connected to
Mhm.
people,
Mhm.
and they die.
Mhm.
So why do you keep doing it?
Because I love the process of helping people die. I love that. To me, that's beautiful. Um, and a lot of times there are major repairs that are made in families that have big holes in them and have been torn apart, and they are mended or at least temporarily brought together because of the death of this person or the impending death of this person. And it's an amazing process to watch. And it's also amazing to empower people to engage in their own death. That is something else. So that's why.
Okay, I'm getting a message to add Diane. I think it is.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
How
Diane
do I
says,
do
let
it?
me in, let me in.
How do I do it?
Yeah,
Wait,
okay.
you're here. You're
You're
here.
here,
I
Diane.
am?
Diane,
Well,
yes.
don't look at me. I'm a mess.
Whatever, I'm eating breakfast. See, I'm eating
That
breakfast.
was hilarious.
I'm a mess. No, I just woke up and I was like, oh, shoot. I thought it was at 1. And then I looked and it's 11:30. I'm like,
Well,
okay.
you know what, Dee? If you didn't stay on the phone till 4 in the morning, you
Oh,
wouldn't be
shut up.
sleeping.
I am so nice. Okay. Oh, look, everyone's faces. Okay, so Leah, so, okay, Anne Marie with glasses.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Okay, okay, wait. Oh, no, no, no. And with the earphones in?
Yeah, I'm Andy.
Andy. Oh,
Uh-huh.
okay.
Yeah, I'm
I
the
don't
one
think
eating
I've met.
breakfast because, I'm late and I'm lazy and I don't care and I'm hungry.
Oh, well, then I guess I don't feel so bad because I'm in my
No.
pajamas with my hair a mess.
No, and
Yep.
Amory Ciccarelli just said she's coming on, but she
I,
looks like
I
shit.
see her face.
Oh
Oh,
my God!
all look like
Hey,
Hey,
shit
Anne-Marie!
today.
Oh my God!
hi.
I'm putting
Can
my
any?
headphones in.
So wait, when each person talks, now why can I see Anne Marie? Oh, I
Which
can see everyone.
Yeah, you
I
What?
guess I don't.
Tell your
Forget it. I
screen,
don't need to
Diane.
see me.
Oh, come on. You might as well. The rest of us look like whatever.
No, but how can I see me? I don't see me.
You gotta
Um,
tip your
because you
camera
can't
down a little bit.
yeah, you're
are we
focused on
on? Are we
something
on
there
else.
air?
you go. I
Wait,
see an eyeball. Oh, now
where is my cam? Oh, this is really. Oh, I know. I have a back on my camera. Hold on. Not on my camera. I have a back on my thing.
All right.
Okay.
I love that this is being recorded.
Camera.
I know.
It's being recorded. Great. I
Yeah,
am
this
a
is gonna go on
freezer.
YouTube.
hey, you know what?
Wonderful.
We're just
I
normal
love that.
people. We're just
Do you,
normal people.
Yeah.
okay. Hey, do you see my eyeball?
We see your eyeball.
Oh, well, actually, it was closed. That wasn't my eyeball.
Oh,
Gosh,
there you go. Now I see you. Oh,
you do?
yeah,
Okay. Well, I'm just
top of
leaving
your
it like
head.
the top.
We're okay just like that. We don't care.
That's good because I can't figure it out. So as long as you can talk to me.
We can. And we were just hitting on the notion about caring for someone who's dying.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, we went right to it, right?
Yeah.
Jump in.
and why we do that. Like why? I mean, Anne Marie. You can relate as well. I mean, it's not like we're not Mets, but why do we keep advocating? Why? I mean,
Oh, you're not Mets. I'm sorry, you're not Mets either. Okay, and Anne Marie, you.
Neither Anne Marie is.
Okay, and Leah isn't. Oh, so geez.
I am.
There's,
So if you
wait,
are, we're here.
I'm not.
No,
no, Diane's not.
and I don't have cancer at all.
Me neither.
But I think that's important. That this is why this is going to sound really weird. I mean, Andy's here and she's Mets.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of us aren't. It's important for us all, for other people to see that we can be all different people, but for the same mission. It doesn't have to be just metastatic people voting, advocating for metastatic. It doesn't have to be caregivers.
Nothing left.
Exactly.
Wait, what'd you say?
I said if we're the only ones, if those that are Mets are the only ones advocating, then what happens is we all die off and nothing really happens because
Right, exactly.
That's key.
Right. I think that's the big point. I mean, that's Anne Marie.
Yeah.
Nothing's two Anne Maries.
Upstate,
I'll
downstate.
talk to both of you. That's one of my big things now I realized is wanting to add. I mean, I was so happy when Leah came on, who doesn't have cancer at all, because it's like a lot of people, I think, in the just general community are like, well, why are you involved in this? This isn't your fight. This it has nothing to do with you. And it's like, Catherine, my friend who I took care of, she died. So go get a life. You know what I mean?
No, you're absolutely right.
And it's like, it's hard to say to people, I don't find this depressing. Yes, it's sad, obviously. I mean, I'm not going to say, oh, this is a bowl of cherry, but it's something that's important, and it should be important to everybody, not just to people with Mets, not just, I mean, all cancers, all diseases should be, but I mean, obviously you can only focus on one thing, but it's important to take care of people. It's important to be there. I mean, I made a commitment. I learned a lot of things, and I got outraged, and that's where it lies, is that I'm outraged.
Mhm. And I agree with that. That's where I got involved. I mean, obviously I had a lot of exposure to cancer prior to my involvement with metastatic breast cancer or breast cancer at all. But I got really, really angry when I started to research and found out what Kristen was up against and exactly what was going on with her, because a lot of people that knew her didn't understand. They didn't understand that everyone thought, oh, she's got the kind of breast cancer that gets cured.
Right, the good kind.
And
Good
so,
time.
yeah.
I got the good kind.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I was interested and frustrated as a healthcare professional, frustrated by that, started to do my homework on it, and then just became really passionate about understanding and advocating for the metastatic community in particular. And all cancers are important, and I love that we are trying to span other cancers, and feels like lung cancer is being brought into
Yeah.
this, and I like
In a
that.
big
That's
way.
awesome. But that's it. I think it's just a passion to educate, to understand, to educate, and to advocate, because if we don't do it, people are just going to keep dying, and they're going to keep dying these terrible, horrible, young, unnecessary deaths, and it's just not conscionable. I can't do it. I can't deal with that.
I agree completely. And every time someone dies, I just think in my head, why isn't anyone else mad right now?
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Right.
understand. Why aren't you mad about this? And that little Twitter war we got into earlier or the other night,
Yeah.
and the person was like, "Well, research is already spent there, and you're gonna die
Yeah.
anyways." Like, that philosophy gets me going even worse. Like,
Yeah.
you have no idea what you're talking about, because if the researchers could actually do their job, because There's really great research out there. There's
Mhm.
just no funding to back it. That's the
Right.
problem.
Right. Right.
And
Well, I
why
think
isn't every life valuable? I mean, you're saying that their life isn't valuable for what? I don't understand. It's confusing
well
to
that
me.
woman.
Well, we're still in the blame people for getting their cancer.
That's
This
right.
is true.
That's
Right. Well, I think that woman, or I guess she was a woman, um, one of the things she kept saying to me before she blocked me was that I was like on a moral high ground or something, and that people in third world countries weren't getting research, so why should other people? It's like, okay, so is that like, okay, children in third world countries die of dysentery, let's not sterilize any water here. I mean, no, let's try to do both, but I mean, that's what I was getting from her, a lot of, well, you're lucky. In America, you're all lucky because there's money. But if you were in wherever, you wouldn't have it. And it's like, what kind of logic is that?
Well, and the other thing that's bad about everything that you just said, my grandmother used to say something all the time. Help the people in your backyard before you spread the wealth.
Yes, my mother used to, yeah, yeah.
How can we possibly help another country if we can't help the people in this country?
that
Right.
That doesn't make any sense.
And we have the money here. I mean, we have more money here, obviously, than, and it's not, I mean, a lot of what we've done, a lot of our vaccinations have spread over to third world countries. So it's,
At
it's
a
it was
highly
just
reduced rate or at a highly reduced price.
That's
right. Yes, no kidding.
Oh, don't even get me started.
So, I mean, let's talk about what we're not doing for these third world countries, because when the medication I get here costs 90% less in, I don't know, pick a third world country, whatever,
Right.
because the company is donating or so-and-so's charity bought all this medication or whatever. Don't think that I'm not a little pissed off that I am putting my family in jeopardy having to pay for these outrageous prices for these medications when obviously you can afford to do this.
Right.
Right. Well, that's the drug companies know that, unfortunately, that the U.S. has this market system where we will pay whatever, and the other countries, they go after them and say, this is what we'll pay. So, if they can afford that, in my mind, they can afford to give, to make it less expensive. I mean, when I didn't know the cost of all the drugs because the doctors didn't, well, they didn't tell us, and basically what we said was the social worker, because Catherine would get so upset, said just throw it away. Well, after she was gone, I got all these bills, and I was like, oh my God.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then the father came after me and wanted like $10,000, and I was like, in your dreams,
Yeah.
you
The
know?
most expensive medication I've been on to this point was $27,000 a dose, and I was getting it every 3 weeks.
That's
$27,000. That's 17 doses in a year. Tell me, I mean, I would have to make,
yeah,
$250,000
just for medicine,
just for medicine.
right?
Now,
Not
tell
to
me a
live.
job that I can make $250,000 while I'm going through chemo treatment.
Oh,
Because
come
I
on.
haven't found one yet. I'm just saying.
You haven't?
No. Mm-mm. You know.
Now, Andy, I don't think we. Do you have a different handle that I know you by, or do I
No.
just not know you?
I know.
Okay.
No. Other than the upstate and the downstate.
Oh, yeah.
The upstate and the downstate I have met, but I haven't met the other. I haven't met you guys until today.
Andy doesn't do a lot on Twitter. She does some, but not.
Yeah, I kind of backed away from Twitter. It was getting a little overwhelming.
And
Okay.
honestly, I think that became a problem on Twitter. And I'd like to say something about that.
Okay.
I am pretty vocal.
No, not you. You're so
And
quiet and reserved.
I don't want to say play both sides of the fence because that's not the right word, but I believe that it's okay to talk about, self-brush checks
Mhm.
mammograms and all of that
And that's
integrated,
fine.
intertwined with metastatic, I believe, all of that. And I got a lot of grief for it. I wanted to
Mhm.
bring in the metastatic community into sites that I worked for, and people did not want me to do that. They were totally against it. And I think it's a huge, huge mistake
But
because the more, and I'm not telling you go post on Komen, that's not what I'm saying. The more people see the metastatic community as people and not this number and not,
yeah.
they will then, and I don't want to say embrace it, but I sort of want to say embrace it. They will take it into their world in a different way. When we keep saying 138 people die every day of metastatic cancer, people get scared. They don't want to talk about it anymore. Now they're talking about people dying, and I don't want to talk about that. I want to
Right.
see Andy, who's 5 years out, making breakfast and then getting shit done today. Because
Right.
then I can say, oh, okay, well, she's living and she's, I want to hear her story. I want to find out what this means. Otherwise,
Well,
we're just, go ahead, Andy.
it's kind of like, okay, and I can't think of her name, Sherry something. She wrote this whole long blog about her hospice experience. And Leah, I'm sure you can speak to this, that hospice is usually not called in until it's almost too late. You don't have the time to build the relationship, build the rapport with the family, help them through some of the questions, the issues, the palliative care that you really could have helped manage much better had hospice been called in more than a week before death. And I use a week just as a general term.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Sherry Filippo.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
yes. Oh, yes.
Okay. She shut down her blog this week. She is
Why?
posting her final.
Oh.
She's too far.
Oh,
Are
okay.
you kidding me?
I didn't
No,
know
she
that.
shut it
I
down this
didn't
week.
either.
So go
Oh.
and post for her and Beloved if you wish to leave a message.
Yeah.
Just,
Mm,
she's heartbroken, but she just can't do it.
yeah.
She just can't do it anymore. Where pain used to, I think, how did she put it? Pain used to be an occasional visitor, now it's a constant companion.
Mm.
And she is wheelchair bound now, as opposed to, at least being able to get up and walk from chair to chair.
Oh.
So anyway, but all that to say, she gave me a really great option, clarity, insight, all those words, to what hospice actually could be, the best of
Mhm.
hospice, as opposed to, oh, you're on hospice, you're dying. I mean,
Right.
because I think she was on hospice a good 8-9 months, and
Mhm.
she was calm and peaceful and kind of like Claire Edith, or Not Telling,
Mhm.
if you follow her at
Yeah.
all. She coined a term, contentitude. Okay,
Oh,
I
I
want
like
to go
that.
out with contentitude.
Mhm.
Whether it's having my little lollipop or patch or
Yeah.
whatever it is, that's kind of my death goal, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Well,
Uh,
and hospice is often called in too late. And we do what we can with what we have, the time that we have.
mhm,
But when people do call hospice in at an appropriate time, or at least start with palliative medicine, and then
mhm,
go to and then go on to hospice, it is amazing the difference in the quality of life that can be seen and had. It really is. And actually, people sometimes live longer because they utilize hospice services. It prolongs their lives. It gives them another couple of months to get stuff done, that they want to
Yeah.
do. So,
I mean, that's something I'm learning. As Anne Marie said, I'm coming up on 5 years, and in the past maybe 6 months, I've had a medication change, so I'm now on AIs, and I know those all come with joint pain anyway. But then it's also been winter, and winter for me in Southwest Tennessee is usually cold and damp.
Yeah.
Cold and damp plus Mets in your bones just makes for a miserable season.
Mhm.
mhm.
So this past season, I really had more of an issue with pain than I had previously. So it dawned on me that I was really struggling, and it wasn't until I got some good pain control that I was like, okay, now I can go up and go do stuff. Let's go to the shopping. Let's go to the gym. Let's go do stuff now that I feel better.
Yeah.
And that's
And
what
that's
palliative
something I
medicine.
think we don't talk about. You know, I think even in the metastatic community, we don't talk about, and it could be, you know, we don't want to talk about it because we know that pain equals cancer spreading. So we're like, oh, God, it's not that. But I think that could be something that we can improve on, to talk about the pain and pain control and aspects of that.
Definitely. My husband is a hospice doc, so we talk a lot about pain control, and his background is in pain management, and we talk a lot about how pain can be managed so that people can live their lives and still do things, you know.
Yeah.
And not be incapacitated. I see you giggling. What are you giggling?
I know. I was just going to say the same
No,
exactly.
She's texting me.
Well,
I sent her a text message just to like, okay.
She's like, I see you looking at your phone. That's what she just said to me.
Oh, y'all are bad.
Yeah.
Little.
Well,
Now it rang.
no, that wasn't me. I'm not. Pain management.
She's smart enough. She's smart enough to keep her phone silenced. I just saw her glancing down because I know her.
Can I ask you, which is upstate and which is downstate? Okay, because now.
Downstate.
Okay. Okay.
Tell
So,
from the accents.
no,
Or
well.
my accent, I would say.
Okay, now I can. Yes. Okay, now I can.
But both of you really are downstate.
Wait, why? Where are you?
No way. I'm upstate New York.
Oh, you're a
No,
Tennessee.
darling. Originally I'm from Troy, so you guys are both downstate.
No, that's actually considered the tri-state.
No, that's Capital District, but you're still downstate from where I grew up.
But wait, okay, wait, okay, upstate. Are you in New York, I thought?
No.
Okay, I'm totally
I'm in
wrong.
Syracuse, New York.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're upstate. You're north here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, pain management is something I think that gets forgotten about in the metastatic community. I don't think people understand that pain actually exists with mets. I think they think that it's, I don't mean people in the cancer world. I'm talking about, oh, you don't look sick.
Wait, I got hair.
Right, but what I'm saying is, if they actually thought you were in pain, they wouldn't say that you look good because they could see through your face and see that you're really in pain.
Right.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Which I think adds to the metastatic issue because, you know, in our society, we want everyone to look sick. You know, we want them to look sick in order for us to research them and treat them, all of that business.
And not be them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
If I don't look like you, I'm okay.
That's actually a really good point.
You know?
Yeah.
But I think, I mean, I saw with my friend Catherine, one of the things that really kind of horrified me was she was in excruciating pain she was at the Faber, and she was at the Brigham and Women's, that's a hospital, and curled up in a ball crying. And the palliative care, and this I was shocked. Cameron was like, okay, give her a Dilaudid once every 4 hours. And I'm like, hello? And he's like, well, we're trying to get her ready to go home. I'm like, she can't move. Well, then give her a Tylenol in between. I'm like, she's dying. Well, we don't want to get her too hooked on taking it. It's like, who cares if she's an addict?
That's another thing that is so misunderstood in this world in pain management, especially when it comes to late stage and end stage cancers. There is a huge difference between being, well, even early stage, because early stagers can have pain too.
Yeah.
So there is a difference between being dependent on a medication because it helps you function, and being an addict. Addicts take their medicines and they go out and they stand on the street and they sell, and they buy other medicines with the money that they make. You know, they have totally different behaviors. People who are dependent on pain medication to get up and go to the damn grocery store or pick their kids up from school or do the laundry are not addicts.
Right.
So let me ask this question to each of us on here. If you could change one thing about how metastatic cancer is perceived, what would you change? I'm going to make Downstate go first.
I was going to say Andy should go first. Since
Well, she should go last. I want her to go last.
Okay.
All right. So if I could change perceptions about.
Yeah.
Okay. So perception number one, people are in treatment for the rest of their lives. They're never going to stop being on medication. So I think that that's something that gets lost in the whole dynamic. It's perceived that if you look okay, you must not be taking medication anymore because everything is under control, when the fact of the matter is, in order to keep everything under control, generally speaking, and I have not yet met anyone who this does not apply to, they're on medication.
Hi, everyone. Sorry I'm late.
Hi, Leslie.
Hi, Leslie.
Oh, I don't know. I know who the name Leslie, but hi, Leslie.
Hi.
Diane.
Sorry to interrupt.
Okay.
No, you're good. We're answering one question, Leslie. How would you change the perception of metastatic cancer? How would you change it?
Okay.
So, Anne, that's what I said, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the other thing about dealing with people who have cancer. You can't remember shit. Okay, go ahead, Anne-Marie. I agree with everything you said. Were you done?
Yeah, I kind of think so. I think I could sit here and go on forever.
Right, but just one, like a quick blip.
The one blip is you're on Medicaid. They're on People with Mets are going to be taking some form of medication for the rest of their lives, and if they're not going to die of the disease, they are going to die with the disease active in their bodies for the most part. I mean, yes, so there are people that achieve NED status, but once there's metastases floating around, NED to me in a stage 4 patient means we can't see anything. But if you already know that it metastasized,
Right.
I mean, for all intents and purposes, every single one of us here could be a metastatic patient. And that is not to diminish those that are diagnosed with Mets. The point being, we don't know. I mean, I just listened to an interview that I did in 2012 on the radio, and I was asked how my mom was after her, because she was now 4.5 years out of treatment for her second primary. And there I am, effusively saying she's wonderful, she's doing great. And 6 months later, she was, in the hospital with a bone biopsy, being diagnosed with bone mets. So, that's how quickly it can just, and for me to listen to that, to listen to my own voice coming through my computer and hear me saying, Mom is fine, and knowing that now, I just had to talk her off the ledge over a scan that she didn't like the way she was reading it, but she never reads her scan. So I had to I spent hours going back with her to when something popped up on the scan that she was unaware of, because the doctor knows how to best, look, every patient is different. My mom never chooses to understand every little thing that's going on. She likes the broad overview. Me, I need to know, every single dot that you're seeing.
Yeah.
And she learned that there was something on her spine that she didn't realize was there. But it took 2 hours of a phone conversation for me to tell her, all right, go back on the patient portal and let's go back and let's look at your scans from a year ago so that you could see that spot was there a year ago. It's not, it's new news for you, but it's not something, you just need to incorporate that into your knowledge and not, try not to let it get to you. And it's 2 hours of talking, and then God knows how many other phone conversations after that. So I think, that also speaks to what is it, what would I want the world to know? Every little thing is a big deal. Period. End of story.
That's
Every
actually
little
another
thing.
really good one.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Sure.
All right, so now you can move on to someone else.
I'd love to move on to someone else. Diane, do you want to take it?
Sure. Wow. That's a it's a hard one. I mean, two things. Well, I guess even though you said one, I'm like two things. Even though you said one thing, but one is that don't run, don't be afraid. People with Mets need us. They need people. And I guess the second thing is that people with Mets are people. They're human beings. We don't want them to die. And like you said, show their face. When you see a face and you come into contact with people, I mean, before I knew any people with Mets, I didn't even know what NBC was, okay? Now I love so many of these people, and, with Catherine and Gotha, it's like, it's totally changed my view. I can't just walk away because your faces now, the people with NBC are faces. They're people I know, people I love and care about. So
Not just
that's
names
my
and
little
numbers.
spiel.
Well, I agree with that. They're not just naming numbers, and I think that's important.
Yeah.
Leah, do you want to go?
Sure. I think my biggest frustration with the misconceptions about NBC is probably more of it runs along, if I have to pick one, a numbers line. There are so many early stagers and primary cancers out there who don't know. They do not understand what the likelihood of metastasis is, and that is so wrong. And it's wrong in two arenas. The first arena is the statistics are wrong. They're not correct. We don't have accurate numbers. People are ballparking 30, 36%, 40%, whatever. And then the other bad part about that is the damn doctors aren't telling them. I can't tell you how many people I talked to when they were dying who told me that who from breast cancer, who told me that at initial diagnosis, they were not told about recurrence. And 5 years later, they were given their little diploma and said, "You're cured."
Mm-hmm.
And so then a year later or 2 years later, they find out they've got breast cancer in their bones or their liver, and they're going, "What? What is
Well, I
that?"
think part of the problem there is a combo. I think the doctors actually do know. I think they don't want to scare the patient.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Which is
Absolutely.
stupid, because what ends up happening is when you are diagnosed Mets, you are more scared because you didn't think it could happen. I'm going to quote one of my very good friends. She finished treatment in June. July, she's having horrible pain in her hip, just horrible. And they treated her for bursitis for a whole month. PT, whole 9 yards. Pain comes back with a vengeance. So her bursitis doctor says, I want to do a scan because something's not right. Did a scan, her pelvis lit up, her skull lit up where she had been complaining of a headache. She just finished treatment. So when her husband sat in the room with her and talking to the oncologist, he said, and I quote, "How the hell did this happen to my wife when the past year she's been on chemo and radiation? How did this happen to her?" He had no clue. No clue that this could happen. He is at that moment he was more scared than anything else because he had no idea what was going to happen.
Right.
And I think we're doing a huge disservice by not explaining the reality of metastatic cancer because it makes it scarier. If you remove the scary from something, then it can be more, you can talk about it more because you're not as scared. I mean, don't get me wrong, you're still freaking scared, but not to the point where you don't want to advocate, you don't want to help, and you don't want to find out more.
Okay, so let me I'm going to jump on that for one split second and say the people that tell us that we shouldn't worry about doing that kind of research are missing the whole point, because if we solve that issue and are able to stop death, then who the hell, I'm not going to minimize, but I am an early stage patient. So yes, I went through chemotherapy, lost my brain, never lost my hair, altered my body in a million different ways, have confidence issues, have all sorts of shit. But if I knew that there's no way I'm dying of this, because they know what to do if you have a lung met, what to do with bone mets, what to do with a liver met, how to deal with a brain metastases, well then suddenly everything from stage 1 to stage 3C doesn't matter, because we already solved the stage 4 problem. So
Exactly.
we do that and we work backwards. And I don't even know why I said that, but I think that when you were talking about
you
how
bring up a
pissed
valid
off,
point. You bring up a valid point, because if we stop the deaths from happening, then it's not scary anymore. It's it's treatable. It's
right. No matter
you know
what happens, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay no matter what happens. It stops the anxiety, because okay, so if they find something there, and the more important or equally important part is it can't be sacrificing quality of life. I mean, it can't be where
Right.
you're debilitated. It's one thing to trade off and say, okay, you know what, I got to go through 6 months of shit, and at the end of the 6 months it's going to be done and it's okay. But if your life perpetually is going to be miserable because of treatment, then that's really not a solution for me either. So it's got to be quality. Quality has to factor in there also, or a treatment that's for a fixed period of time and then done. This is all like kind of almost at this point with our generation pie in the sky.
Well, the funny thing is, where the freak do you think early detection came from? There was a point when you found breast cancer and you really did die because they had you found it too late in the game, because there was no early detection. Well,
Or
now
you're like my grandmother, who knew she had a lump but refused to get it checked because, in her words, no strange man is going to touch me there.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that was my grandmother.
Yeah, and that's a whole different, and actually a very interesting, because I've been talking with someone about that. But we started with early detection and mammograms and all of that. We found all that. We researched it. We got it. Okay, that's great. Now we know about that. Let's flip the page and do this now, because it's almost like you need to do both ends of the bookshelf. Put a book at this end. Here we got early detection. Now let's stop the deaths on this end, and then we can work on the middle stuff, which is eventually curing cancer. Leslie, what do you think about the question? Tell me what your thoughts are.
Well, it's so funny because most people, except for my family and online, don't know that I even have it back.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I look fine and I'm not, I'm doing everything that I want to do. So in some ways, it's hard for me to answer because I'm uncomfortable telling people. But once they know, I don't want it to be like I'm not in crisis. You know what? It's like this. It's this balancing act right now for me. So.
And that's actually interesting, because I've been discussing that a lot. So my friend Jody is similar, and people don't realize what's going on, and they'll come up to me and they'll be like, "Isn't that great about Jody?" I'm like, "Great? What the hell's great about her?" And I can't even put that in the same sentence.
Right.
And they said, "Well, her cancer's gone." I'm like, "No, she's stage 4. It never goes away. Never goes away." And they can't wrap their head around that.
Right.
Right.
That's exactly right.
But I see where you're coming from, because once they know that, then you get Leslie, are you okay?
Right.
Oh my
What
God.
can we do?
I heard you're sick.
I heard you're sick.
Or they dump you.
Or
they dump you.
Right.
You're absolutely right, Diane. Boy, they dump you like, I got dumped and I wasn't even stage 4.
I saw that with my friend. I mean, I just like her family. I just was like, how the hell can you do that?
Right.
What kind of a human being can you? I mean, it just was so boggling.
Well, you know what? Okay, so for someone that's got metastatic disease, that is our biggest fear. So you're our nightmare, which is what I think causes people to run. And I remember Rachel this goes back to, you know, I mean, she wrote a blog that was wonderful, and she passed away, I'm going to say 2012, 13, I don't remember. It was a long time ago, too long ago. And she said, this is weird. She was the first one that I ever found that used the word fearless friends. This is where our fearless friends come in, because our worlds begin to shrink.
Yes.
When we develop metastatic disease. And I'm gonna tell you that yesterday I was sitting with my husband, who was recounting a story to me about when he was young, and he had a friend who was 18 years old, who I guess it probably was leukemia. I don't know what it was, because we didn't get into that part of it, but he was talking about the powerful memory that he was recanting, and it made me start to cry, actually. He said, I went to go see him in the hospital, and he was describing he was, I guess, weeks away from dying, this young 18-year-old kid. And he said, I remember what the room looked like, the smells, I can remember everything. And he goes, but what I remember most was his friend looking up at him and saying, you're the only one, I'm going to cry now, you're the only one that still comes to see me. Everyone else has just disappeared.
Oh my God.
It's awful.
And that's an 18-year-old. Mm-hmm. And that's what, so it's the fear of death, I think, that keeps people away, or kind of like wants to keep the people that we know are quote unquote terminal at bay, because then we don't have to face our own fears about our own mortality. And I just got really deep there, and I'm really sorry. But.
And Leslie, that's probably a huge chunk of why you almost don't want to tell people. You probably don't even realize that subconsciously.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Meet somebody who's just diagnosed early, I'm always so afraid. I don't want to tell them about me.
Okay, so we were just discussing this, because that's part of Wisdo. So when I first was diagnosed and I went on Twitter, I met Lisa Adams. I met Sephora and Annie weren't even stage 4 yet. Jude, I met Jude. I mean, my list, everyone that I met and I was tweeting with,
they're all gone.
They're all dead. Every single one of them. I'm not even. There's not one that's alive. Not one single one of them is alive. Now, that was me. It was okay for me to handle that. Right. Not every person can handle that. That is freaking scary as shit. I mean, I was coming out of a surgery, and Sephora was calling me up, telling me she's stage 4. I mean, that's too much information for anyone's brain. It really, truly is. However, it is information that you need at a certain time. So if you got that information little by little, piece by piece, it's not as overwhelming. I mean, I need to know about stage 4. I do. You with stage 4, you need to know about a million things that you don't even realize you need to know about yet. And that is where the timeline of Wisdo comes in, and how you really need to, you only get it when you need it, and not all at once. I was overwhelmed. I mean, I look back on that, and when a couple of them died, I felt like I was like someone was punching me as hard as they could in the stomach. And then, I'm sobbing at home, and my family's looking at me like, you don't even freaking know these people. What the hell's wrong with you?
Yeah. Yeah.
I will say, in my husband's defense, because he went with me to meet Sephora a couple times to drive down to Long Island, and then he got it. He understood, like, why these people, and Andy came to visit. Like, he gets that,
right?
And as does my family. But not everybody understands this world. It's a very strange world, but we don't need it all at once. We really, really need to, almost with the Mets world and putting it out to the public, you almost need to peace feed them. Feed them people. Actually, Leslie and Andy, you're both perfect, because yes, you both have cancer going on, but you're active in your life. So you guys are great faces of metastatic cancer, because you're not scary. You're not in a hospice room.
I don't look sick.
Right.
No.
Well, can I make sort of an existential woo-woo comment here? Just a second.
Just because you called it that, yeah.
The whole map, yeah.
Just because I'm just listening to this running, and I hear this thread running through our conversation, and And the word here is fear, and fear is such a thief in so many of these areas of this world. So we've got the fear that physicians have of presenting the patients with reality. We have the fear that comes when patients are presented with a reality that they never knew existed or was a possibility. We've got the fear that comes from the public when they're presented with the facts of metastatic breast cancer, the real numbers, the real truth. There's fear there. So what do we have? We have fear, and it's robbing us. It is robbing us of our power. It really does. In a lot of areas, it robs us of our powers, because if we can take that fear and put it aside or acknowledge it and turn it into action and turn it into something positive, then we're not being held captive anymore.
That is so right.
So that was my woo-woo piece.
Now I'm singing that 80s song. I want to woo woo woo. I got to woo woo woo.
Can anyone see me? Because I see everybody, and I don't really want you to see me, but I'm just like, where the hell am I?
I saw
You're right there.
The camera's at the top of your head.
Oh, so you can see my hand.
Yes.
It's a lovely hand.
You know where you are?
Every now and then I get your face, though.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just like
Don't worry, it's only on YouTube. Nobody watches it.
I'm just an idiot with this.
I'm only gonna post it on my Facebook page. I swear, nobody pays attention to it.
This is just my tablet. It's my tablet. I don't get it. So just okay.
Well, Diane, maybe you're hiding with your R's.
Maybe I'm hiding with my eyes. My R's.
Andy, what's the one thing you would change about the perception?
Me about
Andy.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't really have just one thing.
Well, you have to just give me
here's why. I'm coming up on 5 years living with Mets. I had to learn to stop fighting and live with it. I had to learn to stop being so angry. I had to learn to forgive myself when I screwed something up. And I'll be honest with you, I coach a high school competitive shooting team, and there are 20 high school athletes on that team, and I think only 2 know.
Wow.
Not because I'm afraid to tell them. I've gotten to the point where I'm comfortable talking about, yes, I'm I'm coming up on 2 years past my expiration date. Because they say you've got 3 years to live. So I will generally say, yeah, I'm coming up 2 years past my expiration date. It's all good. I honestly, sometimes I think, like you were saying, Leslie, it's the other people's reactions that you have to deal with. You end up comforting other people and expending energy comforting other people when... If I trust you enough to tell you, yeah, I know, my hair is down almost to my bra. My hair looks great. My color's great. My freckles are back. My cheeks are pink. I'm going to the gym three times a week. If I trust you enough to say to you, yeah, I am a metastatic cancer patient, for the love of God, do not tell me, stay strong. Hello, I'm here, right? So I think I got that one checked. Be positive. I think, as Downstate said, they're human beings. Yeah, I'm a human being. I'm going to have good days. I'm going to have bad days. I'm going to have crap ass. What is the name of that movie? Horrible No Good Day? Yeah, I got those too. But I'm going to have some blissfully awesome, checking off the bucket list, swimming with dolphins days. And that's just life. And I'm going to enjoy life and live life as long as I can. So don't tell me stay strong. Don't tell me stay positive. And, don't tell me about all these other...
Wait, you don't want to hear about my cousin's, uncle's, neighbor's, best friend's...
You know what? There's
sister's, brother's aunt who has metastatic breast cancer. They died really horrible
Lori just posted a blog.
Yeah.
Lori just posted a blog.
I caught...
Wait, who did?
Posted it, and I was writing
Lori
one.
Marks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I saw her post it, and I went, all right, well,
I'll read that later. Leslie, how many years out are you?
I'm going to be coming up on 2 in June.
Woohoo!
And I'm sorry,
No,
I do
ask.
know it if I thought about it, but I can't think. What was your original DX?
So in 2003, I was diagnosed early, very early. I had 2 invasive tumors that were small, 0.5 and 0.7. And so I did double mastectomy and I didn't do anything else at the time. And I was followed, closely with tumor markers for 5 years. And then actually at that point, it's funny, my tumor marker had started to go up. But my oncologist at the time said, the recommendation is we don't really follow these because they don't mean that much, blah, blah, blah.
Like, why are you charging my insurance for them?
Right. So we stopped following it. And then at 10 years, almost 11 years, I was sick. I had a cough and pains and all of those things. And it was all over it was in my bones and lymph nodes. So.
Did you know it was a possibility? Had they told you that?
You know what? I did. I knew because my husband's mom died of breast cancer.
Okay.
So we always knew if it came back, that it was a possibility that would come back, especially because I was 30, 30, just turned 36. And so, yes, I knew. My husband's
funny, though. You knew, but I wonder how many people do not know.
Right,
I knew.
I know. My husband's a doctor, so he knew, so it was like, but that was one of the problems too. Like we always said to the kids, I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be fine. We only have to worry if it comes back, and then we'll worry. And then, of course, 10 years later, it came back.
And you have 2 kids?
4 kids.
You have 4.
Yeah.
That's actually
your hair. I'm so impressed by that. I have 1, and I think there have been days where I'm like, yeah. Just saying.
That's been hard because when I was initially diagnosed, they thought I was it was like precancerous junk. They didn't even think it was cancer. And then I came back to my kids and I was like, well, it's cancer. And I remember the first thing my son said to me was, you lied to me. You told me it wasn't anything.
Oh.
And from that point on, every doctor's appointment I go to, I say, I don't know what's going to happen. I have to, I'm good until the next doctor's appointment.
Right.
Not because I think I'm going to eventually get Mets. I have no idea what's going to happen. I got a whole host of other crap that goes on. I don't ever want to lie to my child. Ever.
Right. No, I'm very open with my kids about everything. They all know. So that's a problem too, though. Like now I have a cold, and my kids are like, "Is it the cancer?" I'm like, "No, cold."
And how do your kids? I'm sorry, I have to keep asking, but actually this goes to both Andy and Leslie. How do your kids feel about you publicly putting it out there? Because I've been talking to some people, and there's this notion where, I mean, I have an 8-year-old, right? He was 4 when I was diagnosed, and clearly you see my blog. He has seen the pictures. He's helped me post the pictures. Which one should I post today, Julian? And he'll tell me which picture to post.
Right.
But 10 years from now, 20 years from now, and he goes back and looks on that, how's he going to feel about it then? So how does your kids feel about you openly talking about this in a social forum like we do?
My kids are fine with it. I mean, actually, that's one is less comfortable with it, but she understands that that's what works. That's better for me to be out there. But the other ones they are fine with it.
I think
they like it. I mean, they like that I like it.
I think it's something that you don't really think about. Like I think about those who have Mets or cancer or lupus or whatever your illness is, and you have an infant, and you're blogging and you're tweeting and you're Facebooking publicly. We're not thinking about what's going to happen in 10 years when our kids go back and look at that and how. I mean, I've never looked at it like this. I'm a complete open book. Andy has seen me with my kids. I say, if I post I'm talking about duct tape, I swear to God I'm telling my kids I'm putting duct tape on their mouth. I don't. There's no. I am who I am, literally. But there's some people that maybe posting about stuff that eventually their kids or their loved ones, their husband, their wife, whoever, may look back on and really have some issues with it. I just wonder how if anyone's had an issue with it. I'm
Well,
curious.
DJ was 13 when I was diagnosed the first time, ninth grade. He had just started his freshman year of college 4 years later when, no, so he was 14. He was 14 when I was diagnosed and the first time, and 18 when I met. So he spent the first whole treatment period assured I was going to die.
Mm.
I guess I don't know if it was a 13-year-old thing or, that I'm almost independent from you, or I'm learning to be independent from you, but I'm not ready to be independent from you, kind of a thing. So he spent that first period fully convinced I was going to be dead. And, got past it, and we were good, and then it came back, and he does not wish to talk with me about what exactly is going on. I've asked him, hey, do you want to know? And if, whether you say yes or you say no, I'm going to respect your choice because it's your choice. But I'm also going to offer that option to you now. Of course, now he's 22, so now it's more on an adult level. He sees my blogs. He sees me on Facebook. He doesn't see me on Twitter because he's not on Twitter, but he does see my blog and my Facebook, and he knows as much of what's going on as he wishes to. I think somebody spoke earlier about, it might have been you, Anne-Marie, about being overloaded and overwhelmed. He really wants to digest it in much smaller bites. So he's not ready to hear. I mean, he knows it's stage 4. He knows I will more than likely die early from it, because of complications related to it.
Right.
But I don't think he's not like planning my funeral, if you know what I mean. He understands, mom's going to die, a lot younger than, because his grandparents are still alive on both sides. So, he's got 70-year-old grandparents. So the likelihood of mom making it to 70, maybe not so much.
Right.
So, I mean, these are things he's factoring in. These are things he's thinking about. But, he's already reading my blogs, my Facebook posts. He knows that pretty much October I'm going to rant and rage against the pink machine, just because if everybody's going to rah-rah it, I'm going to go, no, screw you, you suck. So, that's my month of October, and sometimes I make it through to the 15th before I just go, I'm done. I think last year I made it to the 23rd before I went, okay, enough hatred and anxiety and angst. Maybe this year I'll make it posting something everywhere all the way through the whole month before I lose my mind.
Well, I have to say, and I think maybe, I'll leave it at this. As much as I love pink, I truly, truly love it, as everybody knows. I absolutely love it. It has nothing to do with cancer whatsoever. Right. I do, however, think to make waves and to make things happen, we need to start using it to our advantage.
In what way?
Well, I tell you, I tried to get, last year, I did a
I just want to educate. I tried last year to say, okay, that's fine. You want to buy something pink to support something.
And that's not what I mean.
Great.
So last year,
find out where the money goes.
I started to do these Faces of Mets posts, and I asked for as many pictures as I could get, and I got a good bunch of people. They were shared, and Anne-Marie can attest to this. I trended quicker than anybody else. The pictures were shared, posted, shared again. I mean, because they were people. I was showing Leslie, and I was showing Andy's, and I was showing people not dying, though.
Kind of like the I Am Susan stuff, except Susan, I mean, she's doing both.
Yeah, it was kind of like that, but it really wasn't. It just was their story. It was them with their kids. It was them on a merry-go-round.
The power of the story. And people connect to a story more than they connect to facts.
So I had everyone send me like a little blurb about a paragraph. Well, it did pick up some momentum, but then I got resistance because you can post anything you want on my page. It's an open forum. I want you to share your insight because I really believe that my story, Andy's story, Emery's story, all of our stories, even caregiver stories, somebody's going to relate to it. And
Right.
maybe that one face of Mets changed somebody's perspective, and they didn't donate to, that pink bra that you wanted to buy because it
Mhm.
donates 50 cents to some research out in Missouri. You'll
Right.
donate to MetaViva or MedUp. I mean, there's ways that we can use this community. Wisdo
Mm.
wants to take over the month of May, and they want to make it Metastatic May.
Oh,
Great
Okay.
idea.
that's excellent.
So honestly, and I'm saying this, and it's live on YouTube, and I know they won't yell at me for it. So they're launching in April, so the launch is big, and it's going to be huge. And then following it with a Metastatic May could be enormous.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it really, really can be. So I want us to all put our heads together and think of different ideas for a Metastatic May and how we can revolutionize how people think about metastatic cancer. And I know some of you are going to be at LBBC, and I'm going to be talking about that more.
Good.
Good, because I was going to say that's one way is that, I'll be at LBBC, and that's one way is kind of following up off of that. That's why I want to do the first Met Up newsletter. Leah and I are going to do it right after
Perfect.
the LBBC. And so it's kind of like pushing on, and
Absolutely.
maybe
And then
I was going to say maybe you could actually, in the newsletter, we could write something about Metastatic May.
Yes.
Get in touch with you so that, just kind of like it's the momentum, build on the momentum.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you one more thing. My girlfriend's coming with me. She does a project called the Molly Project here in Syracuse. Molly Project takes photographs of women who are seriously ill and terminally ill for free. They come to your house. They take these amazing photographs.
Oh, okay.
She is coming with me. She's going to be photographing and helping me videotape. She's also
Excellent.
giving me all the images. So for your newsletter, I'm going to be I'm going to be taking pictures of the die-in and the candlelit vigil.
Oh, wonderful.
Right.
Oh, wonderful.
So I will
That's
give you
great.
those pictures.
Right, because I'm going to meet with the person who does our website tomorrow, and we're going to put the newsletter. She's going to teach me how to do it on the computer, on the whatever program. So pushing from that and building that momentum. And I think for me, seeing more people there, seeing that there's a lot of people and there's a lot of support behind it, in some way might lessen the fear for other people, because sometimes I know as a caretaker alone in Maine, before I just started getting on these sites for Catherine because she was too scared, I felt like, oh my God, there's nobody there for me, I'm alone. And she felt like that. She'd go to the early stage groups and they would be like, we don't want you to talk,
go away,
yeah, we're gonna catch it.
Yes, that's what. So she stopped going. She was like, I feel like I'm an outcast. And
what you just said speaks volumes to us sitting right here in this little tiny group. Mm-hmm. We're one voice.
Yes.
Together we're little whispers. Nobody can hear us. We're just blah, 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 blah. But together, when you put caregivers mixed with hospice nurses, mixed with people with Mets, mixed with early stagers, you have a very loud, boisterous voice. And not noise, not background noise that nobody's listening to. You have something that people are actually listening to.
Well, look what happened on Twitter when Jenny went to the NBBC, the Artemis thing. I mean, we took to Twitter, and it was, they noticed it. They noticed it. Yeah,
absolutely.
The same thing with that doctor with the lung cancer drug. I mean,
oh my God.
Anne-Marie loves that guy.
I love what happened there.
That was just so friggin' cool.
That was within 1 hour of all of us piling on. The insurance company tweeted him back and said, we will be in touch with you tomorrow morning. We have a team looking at this right now.
So cool.
There was nothing more gratifying in that day of my life than to see that, because that speaks to the way you can leverage social media, but you need to know how to get the message out there in ways that you're going to be bringing together the largest. You can't be off-putting is the thing.
Right.
So, how to bring together the most people and speak in ways that most of the community can hear. There are always going to be outliers on either end that are saying you're not militant enough or you're being too militant.
Right.
But if we can get to 80% of the people, then that would be freaking awesome.
Well, you know how I look at it? It's a party. I love throwing a
Yes.
party. I can throw
And
a great party.
I think you
No
need
shit.
people
I know that.
I think you need some people who are militant. Like I look at Met Up and I think of ACT UP, and I think,
Yeah, but
so we need
Absolutely.
that, and we need the people who are going from the other side.
I'm
But
talking
Diane, I
about
don't think
putting
that
a group together. The way to put a group together is to understand that, if we don't speak in ways that everyone is able to hear, you're suddenly turning off people that are not even good. You got to kind of bring everybody in and then say, well,
you reel them in. You reel them in, and when they're there,
that are angry as shit, and this is the reason why, and then you expose them to all the different ways that the forms of advocacy that are out there, or the ways that the message is being amplified by different groups. But to build a movement, not everybody is capable of being at a die-in, but that doesn't mean I can't support it.
Right.
Right.
and the other thing,
Yeah, go ahead.
I call it positively negative, because if you come out, and I'll tell you, at first, people were looking at Met Up and they were like, they're negative, man. I don't want to be part of that. They are really negative.
Right.
But they're not. You have to show the positive side first
right.
before you can add the negative side. You totally have to, because if you go in negative, mean girl, anger, you shut people out. Like, I don't want to be part of that. I got enough negativity in my life. You don't need to add to yours.
Well, I think at the beginning of Met Up, I know we kind of, we were just like, I don't want to say playing around, but we didn't know exactly what to do. So I think you had a lot of different voices, and then we kind of sat down and said, okay, what do we want our message to be? How do we want to get it out?
Right.
My feeling is I'm angry, but I'm a type of person who, I'm not a screaming angry person. I will get out there and say, I'm pissed that these people are dying, but I can bring you in. I'm friendly, I'm nice, I'm not scary.
Right. But that's my point. Like, and I know, because I have a lot of people that came to me, they were very turned off, and they did not like how they were being, when they approached some of the people in the group, that they were getting very negative feedback from them.
It's
you can't
very
do that.
different.
You
notice the difference now?
I got to throw something out there for 1 second. Anne-Marie, you were saying that you were posting pictures, and it was all pictures of metastatic patients that are living with the disease.
I was.
And were you getting pushback from the people that are struggling?
I don't really see their name pop up anymore, and I'm not going to throw names. But I actually was told to leave my pink shit to the side.
Okay, all right. So now that's one side of it. Metaviver, I know, during the month of October was doing profiles on people that had died. And they were getting pushback from, this goes to the point, I think, that I was just trying to make, where if you can't speak in ways that are going to embrace the entire community or touch most of the community, we're going to keep seeing the fracture that we need to get rid of. But Metaviver was focusing on the deaths, not for the purpose of being gloom and doom, but this is the reality that we need to start addressing. If we can stop this, then we can stop what I said earlier. We can make it less scary. They got pushback from anybody that was living with the disease, like my mom, who has a better social life probably than all of us put together. She's responding well to her treatment. She's constantly on the run. It's, I can never
So they were getting flack.
You were getting pushback for doing one thing, and they were getting pushback for doing the opposite thing. So I think you need to strike that balance where you're not putting anybody off is a really, really important. And the only way to do that is bring everybody into the conversation.
And I do have to go in a minute. But bringing everybody into the conversation is also bringing people who do not have stage 4 and saying, what are you, why are you advocating for this? Or why aren't you advocating for this? What are the reasons why? Tell us, we want to know, so that we can make a change. But, okay, so next week, can everyone meet at 1 o'clock?
What is
Yeah.
next week?
And that's
April
That's
4th.
horrible. What?
April 4th.
April 4th at 1 o'clock. I'll write it.
Jackie,
all right,
I'll
and
just
that's
read the
Eastern,
calendar.
1 o'clock Eastern.
Eastern time.
Yes.
I'll do another hangout thing. I'm sorry, I gotta run. I gotta go to my son's school. But before I go, I'll tweet out the
Yeah,
what is
great.
this called?
Great.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, do that.
The link
The
that.
link. I'll tweet it out and post it.
Do the
Okay.
thing.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Mwah. Everyone have a
Bye.
great day.
Bye. You can't see me waving, but I am. Bye.
Goodbye.